Welcome to Too Fun of Books. My name is Janelle, and this is the week 4 wrap-up for March Mystery Madness. I can't believe we're already at the end of this month. There are still 3 days left though, and which is good because I have a couple books I need to finish up. So I'm going to show you the books that I read this week and the books that I am currently reading that I hope to finish by the end of the month for March Mystery Madness. Before I get to the books though, I need to show you what I found that fit the prompts from Friday's manuscript matchup game. Now this one was a little trickier. We needed to find a book that had a professional detective and that had something to do with the phrase "and murder" in the synopsis. And so I actually found a few here. This was really fun to go through my books and try and find this. So I've got Inspector Morse here from Colin Dexter's The Secret of Annexe 3. And on the back it says, "He knows the basest of human desires will flourish behind a mask. They have in Annexe 3. Illicit love, greed, and of course, murder." So that one was perfect for that prompt. There's another Inspector Morse story called The Way Through the Woods. And the back here says, "Not one to be left behind, Morse writes a letter of his own and follows a twisting path through the Witham Woods that leads to a most shocking murder." This is fun. This was from the Constable Evans series by Rhys Bowen. This book is Evan Help Us. And the back says, "Evan struggles to find answers, but the presence of a seductive stranger complicates matters considerably, and it looks like the only thing Landfair will be known for is murder." This is The Human Flies by Hans Olav Lahlum. I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly. This is translated from the Norwegian by Carrie Dixon. And the synopsis of this one says, "This gripping, evocative, and ingenious mystery, the first in a series featuring K2 and Patricia, pays homage to the great Agatha Christie and will plunge readers into Norwegian history and into a world of deceit and betrayal, revenge, and the very darkest murder." And I found one more. This is Buried in So Sweet a Place by Stanton Forbes. This is a historical mystery set in Boston in 1918. And let's see, it says, "And somewhere, watching her every move, a man she knew only as Miserable Mouse," the main character writes an agony aunt column in the newspaper, "was preparing to teach Mary Kate Donovan the error of her ways, for he had had problems with women before, and despite dear Priscilla's advice, he had found his own solution: murder." Alright, so stay tuned to the end of this video when we will play another round in our M&M manuscript matchup game. Alright. I read 2 more stories in Vintage Mystery and Detective Stories edited by Stuart Davies. This is a buddy read with Berna from Bookish Adventures. We're reading 2 short stories a week and this has been really fun. So this week I read The Purple Death by William LeCure. That one was interesting. I had never heard of that author before, and this one is it involves a crimes club that meets in France somewhere, possibly Paris, I'm not entirely sure, but they meet. There's 10 members, they have a different profession, and they're each an expert in their own field, and they meet to discuss crimes and mysteries and see if they can solve them. And there's an unsolved crime that affects both Scotland Yard and the Sûreté in Paris, or in France. And so it's been unsolved, and so they decide to solve it. Now, what's great with this short story was the opening. I really found the opening really strong, really compelling, really interesting. But in the end, it was just an alright mystery for me. But what happens was that there was a boat is found and there are 3 bodies on the boat. The crew is nowhere to be seen. The boat's just floating in the channel, and all 3 of the people on the boat are dead, and they're all, like, their skin is all purple. So it's just this mystery. Who are these people? Where's the crew? And why are they purple? And so the opening was strong, but the rest of the mystery was okay. And then I read The White Pillars Murder by G.K. Chesterton. That one is not a Father Brown. This one is about two young men who are kind of struggling after the First World War to find something to do, and they end up getting hired by the great detective Dr. Adrian Hyde. And the case he's looking into is a case of murder at a house called The White Pillars. And that one was pretty good too, actually. I really enjoyed that one. That was a short story that was sort of playing around with the trope a little bit. Dr. Adrian Hyde is depicted as very much like a Sherlock Holmes sort of detective, and then these two amateurs who don't really know what they're doing but have a very different style of investigating. It was just, yeah, it was pretty interesting. All right. And then I read 9 Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. This was for the prompt number. And this was really fun. I really enjoyed this one. This was published in 1958. And the main character, Linda, she gets hired, she is in England, and she gets hired to be the governess of a little boy in France. And his parents have died in a plane crash, and he is now heir to this grand estate. And so he has trustees. His uncles are his trustees. And he had been living with one uncle, and his other uncle was taking care of the estate. And the uncle he was living with had needed to go away for a while he was on an archaeological dig or something. So the little boy went to live with his aunt and uncle at this estate, and they hired this governess to take care of him. And then, like, accidents start happening around this boy, and this girl is trying to figure out what's happening, and of course protect her charge, this little boy. And it was good. It was just a really good story, trying to figure out what was going on, who could be trusted. It was great. It was really atmospheric. I like the way that Mary Stewart writes. And the title, though, confused me for a bit. I ended up having to look it up. So the parts are all listed as coaches. So first and second coaches, third coach, fourth coach, fifth coach, like that. And I was trying to figure out what that meant. And there was this quote in the first chapter from Turnier, The Revenger's Tragedy. And I don't know anything. I don't know if that's a play or a poem or what. But the quote is, "Oh, think upon the pleasures of the palace, secured ease and state, the stirring meats ready to move out of the dishes that e'en now quicken when they are eaten, banquets abroad by torchlight, music, sports, 9 coaches waiting, hurry, 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 I to the devil." So we had to look it up, and each coach refers to a time where she is in a different vehicle, and we are made aware of her thoughts while traveling in that vehicle. So that was an interesting way to kind of frame the story. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I will definitely be reading more from Mary Stewart. I read a couple of Agatha Christie's, and I already talked about these in a previous Agatha Christie video. I'll link to it in the cards. I read And Then There Were None, and the short story collection, The Regatta Mystery. And this one I wanted to mention because there was a short story from there that I am counting for my March Mystery Madness short story prompts. And that one there was 2 actually. So I read The Baghdad Chest for the prompt of space, and In a Glass Darkly was the bonus that I chose for the title. This was a really good short story collection. I quite enjoyed it. It had some Poirot, some Parker Pine, a Miss Marple, and a standalone story. And so yeah, this one was really good. I will show you the update of my bingo cards here in a minute. I also read a couple books from the library. I read Murder at Mabel's Motel by G.A. McKevett. This is the third in her Granny Read series. I like that this is a series that's set during the 80s. I find that very entertaining. It is set in Georgia, and Stella Reed is a widow who has to take care of her 7 grandchildren because their mother is in prison, and their father, her son, is a long-haul truck driver who is never home. So she takes care of her grandkids. She is friends with the sheriff in the town. He's a nice man. I forget what he's called. Anyway, there has been some trouble recently with a small group calling themselves the Lone White Wolf Pack. So they've been causing some trouble in the town. A young girl gets attacked, and then the man who attacked her, who is part of this pact, is found dead in Mabel's motel. So yeah, this was fine. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was a little bit darker in tone because it dealt with racial issues and even the Holocaust and World War II. A bit came into it, and but it was good. It was interesting, and I like the characters in this story. That is definitely very entertaining. And then I read The Sanatorium. I just finished this yesterday by Sarah Pearse. Now this was one I thought I was going to like this more than I did. The first half, 2/3 of the book, it was solid. It was heading in a direction that I thought was good, but I felt it sort of fell apart at the end, unfortunately. So this is an isolated closed circle mystery. Our main character, Ellen, who is she has been off work for a while. She is a detective on the police force in England, and something happened at work and she's been off work, plus her mother had recently died from cancer, and so she's been off work, and her estranged brother contacts her. He's become engaged and wants her to come to his engagement party, which is being held at this brand new hotel in the Swiss Alps that used to be a sanatorium. And so she goes, but she has ulterior motives for going. So yeah, I thought it was atmospheric. I liked the setting. I loved that they got cut off because of the snowstorm and the avalanche. But ultimately, I just thought the ending was a bit weak. The main character, she made some choices at the end that I did not understand. And I just didn't like the ending. I didn't like how it wrapped up, who the killer was and their reasoning for it. And I also just thought that there was a few holes. There were some questions that I was left with that I didn't feel like were explained properly. So this is a debut novel, and it had good parts, and it was really atmospheric. There's definite potential here, but yeah, I was ultimately just a bit disappointed. All right, so with my short stories, I have now read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have read 6 of the 9. I have 3 prompts left, and I have the short stories ready to go that will fulfill those prompts. So for weather, I am going to read Death in the Sun, from English Country House Murders, classic crime fiction of Britain's upper crust, edited by Thomas Godfrey. Death in the Sun is by Michael Innes. And then I am going to read from the Oxford Book of English Detective Stories, edited by Patricia Craig. I am going to read 3 is a Lucky Number, and of course that is for number. It has both 3 and number, so I feel like that's a bit of a bonus. And that is written by, I should have looked this up ahead of time, sorry, Marjorie Allingham. And then finally, from Shakespearean Detectives, edited by Mike Ashley, I am going to read Henry IV Chimes at Midnight for the time prompt. And that is a short story written by Cherith Baldry. So there's a connection of this one to Henry IV. This is a short story collection related to Shakespeare's plays, murders and mysteries based on Shakespeare's life and plays. So those are the three stories that I plan to read to finish up the prompts for my short story bingo board. And here is my bingo board for full-length novels. And so I have Person and I have Bonus left for this. And so I am currently reading The Haunting of Maddy Clare by Simone St. James for Person. This is her debut novel from 2012. And this is set in the 20s, and it's about Sarah Piper, who is working for an agency, a secretarial agency, and she gets hired by this man who documents ghost sightings. And there has been a sighting that he wants to document of Maddy, the ghost of Maddy Clare, who was a young servant girl who committed suicide in a barn. But the people who live at the house claim that she does not like men, and she will not allow men in the barn. And so he not only needs a secretary to document his stuff, but he needs a woman who can go in the barn and see if she can, see this ghost of Maddy Clare. And so I'm 72 pages into this one so far. And then for the bonus prompt of the title, I'm reading My Foe Outstretched Beneath the Tree by V.C. Clinton-Baddeley. And this is from the 60s, from 1968. And it is described on the back as a classic English story of detection and with an amateur sleuth. So that's that for me. I also want to finish Strong Poison by Dorothy L. Sayers. So I've got 3 books to finish, and I got 3.5 days to do it, and I'm fairly certain I can do that. Okay, and so it is time for another round of our M&M manuscript matchup game. We'll give the bag a good shake. Okay. What are we going to get? Brown gives us miscellaneous. And green gives us family legacy or inheritance. All right, this is good. So we need to find a book that is about a family legacy or an inheritance. Orange gives us detective. And brown gives us person of color. So we need to find a book that is about a family legacy or an inheritance and has diversity in it. So a people of color or a person of color as character. So I would love to know what you find that fits that prompt. Those prompts, and I will see you for another video very soon. Bye.